Welcome to the Groceries Podcast, where we talk about how smart systems, AI, and the real human connection help businesses grow faster and easier. I'm your host, Josh Jackson, founder of Red Letter AI. For almost 2 decades, I have lived by the idea of high tech, high touch. I help business owners build simple systems that bring in the right clients automatically, keeping their pipeline full and free up their time so they can do more of the work they love. I look at every business like an investor, not just a marketer, because the goal is always the same: make growth predictable, make sales easier, and remove the pressure from the business owner. And that's why I'm excited about today's conversation, because the future of sales isn't more reps, it's better systems, better habits, and better connection. And our guest today is someone who lives that every day. Today, I'm joined by Matt Rocco, one of the top trainers inside the Sandler sales training by the Ruby Group, one of the most trusted sales training systems in the world. Matt works with fast-growing companies across Florida and beyond, helping them build strong sales teams, better habits, and simpler systems that create real, repeatable results. He works with companies that are serious about growth, serious about accountability, and serious about doing the things the right way. He's known for helping teams stop chasing shiny objects and finally getting the clarity and control they've been missing. Matt, welcome to the show today.
Hey, Josh, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me on. It'll be great.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit more about, in our previous conversation, you talked about the old way of selling that's going away. What did the old way look like, and why is it broken now?
Yeah. So the old style was that as a business said, hey, we want to grow in revenue year over year. We want to take this thing, kick it up 15, 20%. The old model was that you would hire more reps, you would give them some tools, and you would have them go out and take on a bigger geographic area. And all of a sudden, from that, you would generate more business. That was kind of the way that you would do it. It was throw a lot more reps at it.
I think we lost you for a second.
Okay. I apologize if that's something on my end.
That's okay. You're talking about building, we'll just kind of edit this part out. Building bigger sales teams was the way to grow.
Yeah. So you would bring more reps into the business. They'd have some tools to go out there and do what they need to do. And from that, you then target a bigger geographic area and you grow revenue that way. That's the old model.
And then what's the new model?
New model is that you have fewer reps who are using tools that are more efficient, better connected. And from that, they're able to be more efficient because every single day that they're working, it's just a streamlined, better flow, and they're closing more business from that. So the companies are working, they're leaner, but the onus is on the reps to be someone who has the desire to grow and take advantage of the technologies that are out there.
Right. So, I believe you're talking about AI, right? And I know a lot of people that I talk to are scared of AI, that they're petrified that it's going to take their job. And you say no. So why do you think AI is actually a good thing for the human salesperson?
Yeah. So really, AI is not going to replace salespeople at the end of the day, but the sellers who are willing to use AI, they will replace the ones who don't. So you need to look at it as, I think AI used to be this, as it came on the scene, it was the extension of Google, right? You would do some searching, you get maybe stronger results. You now need to look at AI and using a language learning model as part of your sales stack. It's just as important as your CRM because of the efficiency that you can work with. So it won't replace sellers because you still need that human-to-human connection and touch, but it will. We definitely are going to see the ones who are willing to embrace it and use it. They're going to have the jobs that others are going to lose.
Right. And I can attest, I love AI. It's in my business name. And, like I said in my intro, I believe in high tech, high touch. So I'm right there with you. I don't think it's going to take away sales jobs. And I think it's just going to enhance them. But let me ask you this, if a business owner is nervous about using AI in sales, what do you think the easiest place for them that they can start with a quick win to understand it?
Well, they need to start by thinking of it as an elephant that you can take one bite at a time. You do not need to have your business transform immediately overnight into using AI for every process that you can automate. But what you can do is you can start looking at it and saying, where am I spending the most time? Or maybe as a business owner, where are the bottlenecks? Automation tool using AI that would let me do that more efficiently. So I would start, if I were a business owner, I'd look at anywhere where the bottlenecks are happening and say, can we automate that process and just make it more efficient there?
Sure. So how does a proven system like Sandler make sure that the high touch part, the human connection, doesn't get lost in all this new technology?
Well, a process is something that you roll out into your company and you say, anyone that's within this role within the company, this is how we're going to follow and do things, right? And so
Hmm.
as you can roll out a process in selling to your team of salespeople, and you can say, guys and gals, this is how we're going to initially engage with the customer. This is what we're going to do to decide that they're qualified for a proposal, and this is how we're going to then work on closing the business. And across the board, everyone decides that they're going to embrace that and follow it. You then are able to track and see, where are we winning the business, where are we holding the business, and where are we actually getting it to the next line, because it's repeatable. So if we start to see breakdowns where we're really good at getting people to the table, we're really good at finding out what their needs are, but we're dropping it when it comes to actually closing the business, that process, because you've got everyone following the same steps within reason, you do want your team, to feel like they can independently tweak it just a little bit. You got to have some freedoms there. But if there's a process that 80% of it is being followed religiously, when there's breakdowns and when things are not going like they're supposed to, you're able to tweak it. And you're able to say, okay,
Hmm.
this is where things are falling off.
Hmm.
And that again is part of that process of figuring out, okay, where do we add, some things to where we've got a little more human touch and a little less automation, because we're losing out on business because we automated it too much. Right? There's going to be times
Sure.
you're going to have to course correct.
Sure. Sure. So, you work with one of the biggest groups in all of Sandler sales training. So, what is one thing that surprised you about the Sandler methodology when you first started working there?
It was that you could close more business as a seller by disqualifying more prospects. So, as you learned how important it is to take the things out of the pipeline that just are not going to be good business for your organization, right? There's
Hmm.
a lot of business that you can do really well and you deliver ridiculous value to the client because they're the right avatar. They're the right type of prospect for you to work with. And the others, you need to be really good at asking the right questions to determine that they're not a fit for your organization and you're not a fit in theirs. And so really almost a little bit of a mindset shift of you're getting on that call and you might be working hard to get them to say no. You guys are not the fit. And I don't know, for 15 years, man, I was on every call trying to get a yes.
Right. Right. So then when you start working with a new company, what's the first thing that you change that gives the owners more control over their sales team and more freedom?
What is the first thing that you change? It'd be accountability on the behaviors. That right there is probably the single biggest thing that I see with organizations, is that they roll out what the revenue numbers, what the targets are, what they want to hit. They maybe even give some tools, but very rarely is there tracking on the right things. You've
Hmm.
got companies all over the world that track the revenue numbers. Here's what we need to hit. Did we hit them? Yes or no? And they're not looking at the part of it where, what are the individual salespeople, what are the tasks that they're doing to reach those goals? And when you start pursuing those right indicators, that's when you can see some pretty aggressive wins.
Gotcha. So then let me transition to when I mentioned in the open, because this is one thing I wrote down when we talked previously was
Sure.
shiny object,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So without a system, companies are always, you said they're always chasing the shiny object. So what's the most common shiny object you see sales teams wasting time on?
Mm. I think it's the flow of how the flow of what they do and say in front of a prospect. And they are the sport of sales is a little bit violent because of the no's that you're going to get and the stuff, the misalignment. Top of that, you have a guy or gal, working to provide the lifestyle for their family, which is reliant on those sales happening. And so you get a lot of sellers that they're plugging away and all of a sudden they have a bad week or, God forbid, a bad month. They might be on YouTube University watching and listening to 6 different coaches telling them how they should be handling that call. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden they're chasing every different process and way of handling a prospect, handling objections, asking certain questions. And they realize at the end of 12 months, they tried 50 different styles, never stuck to one long enough to refine it, get better at it. And it's a syndrome that hurts a lot of sellers. And I speak from experience of myself early in my sales career. I was guilty of that exact thing. You want the best result for the organization you're working for. You want the best result for your financial picture, and you're willing to try anything. And it's a trap. It can be a trap.
Yeah, momentum is a real thing. And the minute you stop and you give your team a different direction or let's try this, then you got to start over again. And it takes a while to ramp up. And like you just said it, you didn't give yourself or your team long enough to even have the data to see if it even worked.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That's
exactly right.
that's so true. So true. You said it perfectly. So let me ask you this about a specific client that you may have worked with. Obviously, no names or anything needed. Tell us about a company that was maybe stuck at a certain revenue level or was frustrated with their sales team. What did you guys do, and what kind of results have they seen?
Yeah. So I'm thinking of one specifically that has a group I was working with. This company had right at 15 sellers, all different
Hmm.
markets, so a lot of geographic changes based on where they were, because not every state, not every city is the same when it comes to selling. And they did not have a set process. They had a lot of scripts built out for what sellers might say on a call, what that initial process needed to be, but it really wasn't optimized. It was very focused on the features and benefits of their company. At the end of the day, we're living in a world where people have already done that research. They know a lot about the features of what your organization does. They want a rep who can get on a call and intimately understand what their needs are. So we completely shifted what they were saying on the calls, what those calls sounded like. They were doing fewer proposals after they started working with me because of the disqualification process. They were doing fewer proposals, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the pipeline was healthier. And so right off the bat, the pipeline got pretty skinny. There wasn't as much in it, but then they started closing more deals. So it was 15% increase within 4 months, about 120 days, maybe a little longer.
Really, really.
And
So within,
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I was
Sorry.
going to say they were putting more time into the ones that did make sense to work on, and people felt that. The
Hmm.
prospects felt, hey, there's something that you're bringing to the table here where you really want to know that you're going to serve us in the right way.
Wow, that's awesome. So within 3, 4 months of starting this new process, their pipeline got skinny, but you probably got rid of like all I call it the dead weight or, the dead branches, and you're just looking for the live branches, right? And they increased by how much, you said?
A good 12%. And some of the reps, it's all based on adoption. Not everyone adopts things at the same pace. So a
Hmm.
few of them were probably closer to 15%. But even the ones who maybe are a little slower to adopt, they were seeing some immediate changes. And it was a combination of the per ticket price on what they were selling went up. So a little bit of an uptick there, a better closing percentage because the healthier pipeline. And then when it came to actually technique, they were getting a little bit stronger. So their
Hmm.
closing ratio was higher.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. Less time talking to people and make more money. Doesn't get much better than that.
Okay.
So if a client was listening right now, what do you think they would say was the most valuable part of working with you?
It's the ability to marry a process in with individual sellers based on where they're at.
Hmm.
You've got a team, let's say you're an organization with 7 sellers. Maybe you have
Hmm.
up to 30. each one of those people are likely in your company because they are good at what they do. They're successful. And owners sometimes are concerned that, oh, if I bring something in, I'm going to have pushback from a majority of the team because they think they kind of know what they're doing. Well, what if you could introduce something to the team that marries where they're at based on what their skill level is and allows them to get 2% better every day?
Hmm.
That right there is going to be key, that you have to bring something to the team that helps each of them level up where they're at. This is not a one size fits all, cram it down the same way on every single person. That's key.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, before I know we're kind of running up on time here a little bit, but I have a couple more questions for you, and I call
Sure.
these pay it forward questions. So let me ask you this one: for the business owner who is committed to growing, but is struggling with accountability, either for themselves or their team, what is the one thing they need to hear right now to break through that barrier?
It would be, you've got to give every single person on the team one specific item that's measurable and let them know you want to create a culture where those items are tracked and they have to answer for it on at least a bi-weekly basis. Sometimes you need to be in touch with them on a weekly basis and then roll it out to where, hey, this is what we're going to use. We're going to do it a quarter at a time. At the end of the quarter, we're going to review the numbers. We might make some tweaks, but you've got
Mhm.
to own the fact that you are going to be held accountable to the number that you give, at least one item.
Very good. And then, what is the single best piece of business advice you have ever received?
Well, one of the most important, and I think of it daily, and it rolls into personal life as well, but it really relates in sales. It is that it's important to stay committed to a process, emotionally detached from the outcome. And that allows me to walk into a business and from time to time say, as much as I'd love an opportunity to work with you, we're not the right fit. And at the same time, I'm also going to say to a seller, there's some key things you're going to have to fix on your end for this to work. So stay committed to the process, emotionally detached from the outcome, and you'll see a lot of wins that way.
Yes. Sorry, my phone just rang.
All good, bro.
I completely understand that, and it sounds like a lot of Nick Saban speak there. If you know who's a college football fan, commit to the process. Don't worry about the outcome. The outcome will take care of itself. And on the business side of that, it just makes me think of the ism I live by, that numbers and money follow; they do not lead.
I love that.
You have to do the
Crucial.
work, and then all that other stuff will come along with it.
It is. It is.
And so then my second to last question is, if you had a chance to talk to your 15-year-old self today, what would you tell him?
It would be, as you decide to go into different sales careers, specific industries, work diligently to find the companies within those industries who is performing at the highest level, because you want to be able to sell the business, sell the work, and you need a team that'll fulfill on it at a high level. And so there's been times I've gone down certain paths and that company functionally maybe wasn't able to perform like others are in the marketplace. So as a seller, you want to sell for the best and the brightest.
That's awesome. And then lastly, where can people find you if they want to know more about you or have questions?
You'll find me hanging out a lot on LinkedIn, Matt Rocco, Sandler by the Ruby Group. You can message me there. You can book appointment, get time right on my calendar straight from there. So that'd be my top suggestion, is start there and we'll get on a call or have a meeting from there.
That's awesome. We will have all those contact details down in the show notes below. But Matt, I appreciate the time you've taken with us today.
Hey, Josh, sorry about the wonky camera to anyone that watches this. Thank you for the opportunity.